My humble Sitaram, Pranam, Namaste, good day to each and every one of you. My salutation to all you wonderful souls again, all you divine souls, all that divinity within you. I bow to you again and again. I would like to talk very briefly on the question, are we idol worshippers? Many a times we are being brand named as idol worshippers. And when people do not understand our way of worship, when they do not try to have a basic understanding of the way of our worship, then all different manners and sorts of statements are being made, and it is not a righteous action to use statements that you yourself do not experience. And so experience is the best teacher. We must note, experience is the best teacher. And so we use what is called a murti. And when we look up the definition of what a murti is a Sanskrit word. And there are 5 meanings of murti. The first definition is a murti is something that has a definite shape. That is one meaning. A second meaning of murti is a form, a visible shape, or a figure. Something that has a form, a shape, a visible shape. The third meaning is an incarnation and personification of something. An incarnation and a personification of something is called a murti. The fourth meaning is an image or statue. The fifth meaning is beauty. And so you can see from the definition, we use a word or as per its meaning in a statement. And so when we use the word murti, it is referring to an incarnation, a personification of God. That is what a murti means. It is an aspect, it is a form, and it is a mark, and it is a representation of God. That is what our murti is. A murti, we pay all respect and reverence to a murti. We take care of a murti. We treat a murti like God himself, because when we look at a murti, we see God. When we look at a murti, it brings the same impact into our heart and mind and bring about love and devotion. That is what a murti is. On the other hand, an idol is a regular shape or a regular form of anything. That is an idol. You can have an idol of a bird, an idol of a human being. But this idol is being left here, there, and everywhere. There is no respect and regard that is paid to an idol. An idol is left in the sunshine, in the outside. It is being there under the weather, but our murti is being revered. Care is being taken. All respect and regard is being paid to the murti. And so it is said, even when we read, when we are studying, it is an important factor for the mind to be on the object you are studying. If we are in the classroom, it is important for our studies to be effective and our listening to be effective. Our mind has to be focused. And because of this, it is a universal law and rule in all colleges and kindergarten school and secondary school that teaching aid must be used. Now it has been found out, research and the studies has been done to show the effectiveness of teaching aid. The teaching aid transfer the information into the mind in a most reasonable and simple way and effective way, so that what you are talking about, what you are teaching about, it form an impression in the mind and it retain there for a longer while. It's the same way Murti Puja is being seen on different aspects, on different level. Depend upon our spiritual level, that is the way we see the Murti. And so, Murti on a physical plane and level, it can be seen as a medium to connect a person to God. When a bhakta look at a Murti, he doesn't see stone, he doesn't see marble, he doesn't see wood, but he see God. And if the mind sees God, whatever the mind is on, that is what is being worshipped. But a non-devotee, a person who do not understand the concept of the Murti worship, then when that person look, he doesn't see God, he sees stone, he see marble, he see wood, and he say, oh, he is praying to wood, he's worshiping marble, he's worshiping stone. In the meanwhile, the bhakta is being connected to God, and through the Murti as a medium, the mind raise up to a higher ecstasy, a higher level of love and spirituality, and that Murti connect the devotee to God, and he experienced that bliss and peace and mind, peace in his heart and his mind. That is the beauty. It is the same thing. Like when someone lost his or her parents for years, and one day he or she is going through the album, and then he came across the beautiful picture of his mother, his or her mother. What happened? It is practical. Sanatana Dharma is most practical and logical and scientific. And from practicality, it has happened. You look at that picture of your mother who have passed years ago, and what happened? All the memories start to flow in your mind, and now you are reconnected to your mother, and so tears might flow, and you feel that love in your heart, and that tears flow. And sometimes you will talk to that picture frame. You will talk to, oh mother, I miss you. You was a wonderful mother. That is what the picture do. The picture bring back that memories and connect you to your mother or father. And so you start to cry out of love and devotion and start to talk to the picture frame. And so that is what the Murti does. That is what the Murti bring us close to Bhagavan. And so the mind is very chanchal. And bahut chanchal hai, the mind will waver here and there, and every second the mind flashes. And so what does the Murti does? It is like a worshipping aid, like how we have teaching aid. It is a worshipping aid to aid the bhakta to concentrate and focus onto the Lord to make his worship effective. Like when the teaching aid is being used in class, it makes the teaching lesson effective so that student mind can focus and absorb that knowledge. That flow of information flow into the mind. And so this is what a Murti does. We are not worshiping the stone, but we are worshiping God through the Murti. Through the Murti, it is a medium. And the same way, information flow, like when the teacher in the kindergarten school hold up a picture and say, what is this? And so the student look at it and say, oh, that is a banana. I hope you can see it. And he's saying, this is a banana. And then the teacher will hold up another picture and he say, what is this? And the child look at it. The child had some memory of it, saw it on the kitchen table, and the child will say, that is an apple. And so, not only in nursery school and kindergarten school and secondary school, but even university, teaching aids are being used. And so they use in chemistry, they use this rod and ball, or they call it ball and spokes, different names. These are aids for teaching. And so the teacher will form a molecule of anything. The most simplest, let us say, water. I love to talk about water. It is simple. And so let's say the yellow ball represent H, and the white ball represent O, oxygen. And so the teacher say we have oxygen, white balls are oxygen, and the yellow ball is hydrogen. So what atom do we have? What do we have? The lecturer will ask the class at university. And the big student at university level will say, oh, that's a water molecule. That's a water. But what does it represent? It is a representation of water. It is not water, but it leads the information into the mind of the student so that the student can perceive that what is a water molecule. The same way when we hold our murti. Bring on Murti to Krishna. The same way when we hold our murti, it is like a worshiping aid. This is a teaching aid. The whole world accept this is a teaching aid. And so big university and PhD and professor bring. And so now when we say, I have a worshiping aid, what's the issue? What's the big issue? I have a worshiping aid that aid me to worship, to aid me to glorify God, to aid me to connect to God. This is my symbol. This is my symbol. This is my murti. This is what connect me to God. And it is worshiping God through the murti. Through this murti here, it connects us to God. And so we are worshiping God through the murti. We are not worshiping stone and brass and iron. We are worshiping God through the murti as a medium. And so it is said that God is also present in each and every of its creation. God is omnipresent. Omnipresent means God is present here, there, and everywhere. God is present in each and every of the atoms because his energy is present in the atoms. We have electrons. In inanimate object, copper, brass, we have electrons that are spinning around the nucleus. And so what is causing those electrons to be moving and spinning around? They keep moving. Inanimate object like brass and copper and wood, you have movement. The electrons are movement. What causes this movement in inanimate object? And it is energy is present there. Whose energy is there? God energy is there. Wherever God energy is, God is present there. Like the flame, wherever the flame goes, the heat goes with it. Wherever there is a flame, there is heat. And so they go hand in hand. If am I to take away the heat, can I take away the heat from the flame? No. To take away the heat from the flame, we have to out the flame. Then there is no heat, there is no flame. So they are inherent in each other. So likewise, wherever I go, my energy go with me. And so how do you take away my energy? You cannot take away my energy unless you kill me. And I know you will not do that. And so wherever God is, his energy is. And wherever God energy is, God is present there. And that's what qualifies his statement as God is omnipresent. He is here, there, and everywhere. So if God is present in everywhere, God is also present in the Murti. God is present in the Murti. If God is present everywhere, why not in the Murti? And so at a higher level, God is present in everything. God is present in the Murti. We see God in the Murti, and we worship God and God alone through the Murti. Worshipping of different aspects. We can meditate. Use it as a point of focus because the mind needs something to focus on. It is harder, Bhagwan Shri Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, it is very difficult to control the mind, especially for the family-oriented person. The family-oriented person who goes to work and tired and come and has to sit in meditation, then his mind chanchal. It is a difficult task to control the mind. But as soon as we put that murti there, and the bhakta see that murti, what comes to mind is God come to mind. Is God come to mind. And so when God come to mind, the murti connect us to God. And also, it is very also scientific too. It is said, research and study has shown that in the school teaching aid, as per research and studies, 90% of information is transmitted through visual. One study shows that after 3 days, a person retains 10 to 20% of written or spoken information. If a person reads something, after 3 to 5 days, only 10 to 20% of that information is retained. If a person listens to something, after 3 to 5 days, only 10 to 20% of the information is retained. But if a person sees something, it is 65 to 70% information is retained by seeing. And this is research and studies has done. You can Google this yourself and see that research and tests show that when somebody sees something, a visual aspect of something, almost 67 to 70% of the information is retained. And so it is saying that hearing plus seeing plus doing, 90% of information is retained. Let me show that to you here. Hearing plus seeing plus doing, we have 90% of the information is retained when the 3 main sense organs are being used. And this is another aspect. Our saints and sages are smart. Our saints and sages is highly advanced in teaching technique. Our saints and sages were great scientists, and they knew this. Sanatana Dharma is most ancient, is said to be the oldest and the most ancient system, but yet it is practical, yet it is logical, and yet it is scientific. And therefore, when we perform puja, we also use that visual aid of the murti. One of the main reasons we use that murti as a visual aid, whereby it increases the information, the view, the thought, the feeling, the emotion of God, and raise us to a higher level of ecstasy. We all see through the mind. We perceive to our mind. We are controlled by the mind, and therefore in puja too, we want the mind to fully absorb. But yet remember, the mind is affected by the senses. The mind is affected by the senses. Whatever we hear affects it, go to the mind. Whatever we see, we go to the mind. Whatever we smell, it go to the mind. And so whatever the mind is involved in, that is our entity is involved in. Our whole human consciousness and our whole human entity is surrounded by the nature of the mind, what goes on in the mind. And for this reason also, in our puja, we use items that has effect on our five sense organs. That is why we have the harial and the bell and the ganta. We song the shank, we ring the bell to bring that positive frequency of Om so that it penetrates to the ears and go to the mind. So the sense of hearing is being used in puja. We use the agarbatti, the incense stick. We use the perfume and the smell of the hawan, the camphor, the sense of smell go to the mind and it affect the mind. Likewise, the sight of the beautiful murti, the sight of the beautiful colors also go to the mind. And we hold, we worship, we wash the Lord's feet. We use the murti as a medium and see God in that murti and wash his feet and touch his feet. It is through the murti puja we can able to touch the Lord's feet. We can able to wash the Lord's feet. We can able to wipe the Lord's feet and bring that feeling of love, devotion, ecstasy in our heart and mind. So the five senses are being used to worship puja so that the mind is fully engrossed in puja. So our whole human being, our whole consciousness, our whole entity in us is focused towards God to raise us to that higher level of spirituality, love, devotion, and bhakti to get us close to God. We know the nature of the mind and it all affects the mind, the five senses, using our action, washing, touching, seeing, hearing, smelling, all these beautiful puja items, and it draw you to Lord, connect you to God, that one you supreme God. It connect us to build love and bhakti, love and devotion, and that feeling of peace, that feeling of tranquility, that feeling of bliss, and a higher ecstasy of love come within our heart, which you have to experience yourself. As I begin by saying, experience is the best teacher. And those of us who experience will never give up Murti Puja because we always feel that ecstasy of love and devotion and peace in our heart and mind, which cannot be derived from any other means and source. It can also, for the higher bhaktas we raise, we can sit in meditation. We can sit in meditation and focus our mind. That is called Manas Puja. Manas Puja call for a lot of control of the mind, and we can do away with the ingredients, but we can perform puja beautiful through meditation, through the mind, sit and reflect and see Bhagwan, see the Lord in front of us. Reflect. How do we see? It's through the Murti. We have the symbol of the Om. We have the Om. And that symbol of the Om, you reflect upon that Om and see that Om and meditate and focus and build that love and bhakti for that Om. We see the light of God. God is light and light is God. We sit and we reflect and we see Surya Dev, the source of light. And we see light at the center in our heart and the forehead, and we sit in meditation and we meditate. We see the Lord and engross in his peace. We engross in his calmness, in his shant, in his peace and tranquility, and raise to thy higher level of ecstasy. And so I hope I have given some food of thoughts here. I have tried my best. If I have made any mistake, I ask for apology. I'm only a human being, and so I ask for apology.